Good morning. I now show that it's 9 o'clock and we'll admit any latecomers as they arrive. This is the 95th District Court dismissal docket. I'm going to go through the docket, and if you're representing any of the parties, please respond and let me know the status of the case. We're going to start out with DC 1912078, Ronaldo versus Aguirre. That's cause number DC 1912078, Ronaldo versus Aguirre. Hearing no response, this case is being dismissed for warrant of prosecution. Next is case DC 2009709, Houston versus Montreal. DC 2009709, Houston versus Montreal. Hearing no response, this case is being dismissed for warrant of prosecution. The next case is DC 220025, Johnson versus Orendorf.
Heather Bannigan Neese on behalf of the plaintiff, Audrey Johnson.
All right, Ms. Neese, let me pull that case up real quick.
Yes, sir.
I think we've discussed this case before.
We have, Your Honor.
Okay, let me get to my notes here. Okay, looks like you're trying to serve the executress of the estate. Is that correct?
That is correct, Your Honor. Let me give you the date. On 11/3, we did file a motion for subservice, Your Honor, in accordance with our previous discussions.
Okay, I do see your motion for subservice is filed, and the court will consider that. Anything further?
No, Your Honor. May I be excused?
You may be. Thank you, and have a good day.
Thank you. You too. Thank you.
Next case is DC 22040449 O's versus Leslie. Mr. Sartain, I see you're here.
Yes, Your Honor.
You know, I think we discussed this last week, correct? Let me pull up my notes.
Yes, a couple of weeks ago.
Looks like you were trying to serve an individual through the Secretary of State. And this case has been around a long time. What's going on now? Have you gotten service yet?
Your Honor, we still don't understand why service was not effected upon the Secretary of State, and they turned around and they gave us the Whitney certificate that they sent it and served it upon. Why we don't understand why under
Okay, I want
the
to refer you.
civil.
Do you have a O'Connor's Texas Rules?
Well, yeah, I do. It's in the other room.
Okay,
I'm
I'm
looking at
gonna refer you to, there's a chart in that book that shows where proper service is done. If you can show me where you can serve an individual through the Secretary of State, I will reconsider. But I'm not going to entertain arguments that you think that's appropriate service because the statutes did not show that. Now, if you can show me where you can serve an individual by serving the Secretary of State, regardless of whether or not they sent him a certified mail, etc. You're trying to get a default judgment, okay? And that, in my mind, is not proper service. So why don't you do this? I'm not going to hold everybody up here today. You call me back at 10 o'clock and provide me with some authority that you can serve an individual through the Secretary of State, and then I'll reconsider, okay?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you. You may be dismissed. We'll talk at 10. DC 22-05938, Mayow versus Tarvar. DC 22-05938, Mayow versus Tarvar.
Hey, Judge, it's Camilo Valencia on behalf of Mr. Mejia.
Okay, who is that speaking?
Camilo Valencia with Ben Abbott.
All right, Mr. Valencia, let me pull this case up.
Yes, Judge.
Okay, it looks like the defendant was served on September 14th.
Yes,
And
Judge.
you sent a tender letter to the insurance company and they didn't answer, and you want 2 weeks to either file a default or to get the insurance to file and get the company to represent the defendant by filing an answer. Is that correct?
Yes, Judge. And I believe we did file that default, Judge.
Okay. I do not see a default filed. When did you file it?
Within the last week, Judge.
Okay, can you give me a date?
I can't at this time, Judge. I cannot. But I certainly approved one to be filed, and if you don't mind just giving us a 24-hour extension to do.
I'm not going to give you 24 hours. You said you filed it. If it's filed, I will leave it on the docket. If I don't see it today, I'm going to DWAP it.
Yes, Judge. Understood.
All right, anything further?
No, Judge.
All right, you may be dismissed. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Judge.
DC 22-06762, Wales versus Taylor. DC 22-06762, Wales versus Taylor. Hearing no response, this case is being dismissed for warrant of prosecution. DC 22-06812, Wales versus Wilkins. DC 22-06872, Wales versus Wilkins. Hearing no response, that case is being dismissed for warrant of prosecution. DC 22-07029, Wells versus Wynn. DC 22-07029, Wells versus Wynn. Hearing no response, that case is being dismissed for a warrant of prosecution. DC 22-07544, Discover versus Saldina. DC 22-07544, Discover versus Saldina. Hearing no response, that case is being dismissed for warrant of prosecution. DC 22-08325, Superior Systems versus Shaw.
Yes, Your Honor. Ben Warden on behalf of the plaintiff, Superior Systems Incorporated.
All right, Mr. Warren, give me a second to pull this case up. Okay, I show that this case was filed on July 14th, and you still have not completed service. What's going on?
Yes, Your Honor. It was filed on the 14th. It was the day before the limitations period expired. And since then, this is actually one of two sister cases about two neighboring commercial properties. The parties have been in active settlement negotiations, and we're just on the cusp of settling. We've actually, I think we have our last negotiated provision out today, and it should be signed ideally by the end of the week, and we can dismiss both of these lawsuits. But it's just the parties are actively negotiating. There's been some extensive negotiations regarding the agreements themselves, and that would be the reason for the lack of service. And actually, in the 193rd, we had a dismissal hearing last Thursday that I explained the same thing to Judge, well, I cannot remember her name now, but and that's what's going on.
Whitmore. So you're not going to try to serve the defendant. You're trying to get the case settled. That's what I understand you're saying.
Unless it doesn't settle this week, Your Honor, we're going to proceed with service, but we're going to try one last time to get it settled.
Okay. Let your opposing counsel know that if you guys aren't able to settle, it's going to go on the DWAP docket next week.
Absolutely, Your Honor, and next week as in next Tuesday.
I'm going to put it in for November the 15th.
November the 15th.
So either get it settled or get the party served by the 15th, or it's going to be DWAP'd.
Yes, Judge.
All right, thank you very much. Anything further?
That's it.
Okay, you may be dismissed. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge.
DC 22-08244, Neighborhood versus Marquez. DC 22-08244, Neighborhood Credit Union versus Marquez. Hearing no response, that case is being dismissed for warrant of prosecution. DC 22-08263, Discover Bank versus Meta. DC 22-08263, Discover Bank versus Meta. Hearing no response, that case is being dismissed for warrant of prosecution. DC 22-08273, Discover Bank versus Hahn. DC 22-08273, Discover Bank versus Hahn. Hearing no response, that case is being dismissed for warrant of prosecution. DC 22-08862, American Express versus Wright.
Good morning, Judge. Sean Redmond here for Plaintiff American Express National Bank.
Good morning, Mr. Redmond. Let me pull this case out. Okay, I guess you served the defendant. What's your intentions with this?
Yes, Judge, we served the defendant. We processed an affidavit request to our client. There's a slight delay, but we did process it. The affidavit request is with the client.
Okay,
We're just asking for a little bit more time so that we can get that affidavit back, file a motion for default judgment.
okay, I'm gonna give you 2 weeks to get it filed, okay?
Do you have is it a hard date? Is it the same date?
November the 22nd.
November the 22nd?
It'll be on the dismissal docket again, and you can come hopefully you will get that affidavit executed and you'll get your motion filed by then, okay?
Yes, Judge.
All right.
Judge, that's all I have before the court. May I be excused?
You may be. Thank you very much. You have a good day.
Same to you. Bye-bye.
DC 22-08881, Portfolio versus Wynn. DC 22-08881, Portfolio versus Wynn. Hearing no response, that case is being dismissed for want of prosecution. Good morning.
Good morning, Your Honor. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I've gone through the docket. For further reference, I start at 9, and if you're on by 9, I'll hear it. Otherwise, I'm going to admit you after I've completed the docket. Which case are you here on, is it Kettler?
Yes, sir.
Which case
I'm
is
on
that?
3. Yes, I'm on 3. The first is Wells Fargo Bank N.A. versus Dennis Taylor.
Okay, let me pull that one up. Okay, I show that we met on the 25th of October, and you said you're going to be filing a default. Has that been filed?
That has not been filed, Judge. The principal firm had filed a motion to retain. They needed a little more time to get a supplemental non-military affidavit, but I understand this has been on your docket for some time. And if you have to DWAP, I certainly get that, Judge.
Well, if you're in the process of filing the DWAP, the default, I don't want to dismiss it, but I want to make sure that's going to be done. How much time do you need to get the default filed?
Judge, I don't want to speculate too much here, but normally with the non-military affidavit, that's a relatively straightforward process. So I would say another 2 weeks would be generous.
Okay, I'm going to place it on the dismissal docket for November the 22nd. And please get a motion filed by then, okay?
Understood, Judge. At 9 a.m.?
Yeah, this docket is heard every Tuesday at 9 a.m.
Understood, Judge.
Okay, what's your second case?
The next one I have is Wells Fargo versus Brandon Wilkins, 6872.
I think that's the same situation, isn't it?
Exact same fact pattern.
Okay, I'm going to give you till the 22nd. Okay, what's the third one?
And third and last one for me is Wells Fargo versus Tuan Nguyen, 7029, an exact same fact pattern again.
Okay, again, I'm going to take it off the DWAP docket today, but it's going back on in 2 weeks. So either get motions filed, let your client know that they got to move these cases. If they got to desire to DWAP it, they need to do it right away and not to hold on to them, okay?
For sure.
Okay, anything further?
Nothing further, Your Honor. May I be excused?
You may be. Thank you, and you have a good day.
Thank you. Y'all as well.
Thank you. Mr. Work, which case are you here on?
I'm here on DC 22-03152, and we filed a notice of non-suit.
Who is the give me the party's name.
Oh, PCA Acquisitions V LLC versus Farron, Faron Davis.
I don't have that on my dismissal docket today. Let me give me the car's number. Wait a minute. Give me a second here.
Okay.
Give me the car's number again.
It's DC 22-03152.
Okay.
And,
I do see that you filed a notice of non-suit. Okay.
and I was just appearing at a abundance of caution, just to make sure.
Okay. All right, we'll get that, I guess you want an order on that. We'll get that signed and get it out to you today.
All right, thank you very much, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Anything further?
Nope, that's all I have.
All right, you have a good day.
You too. Bye.
Thank you. This ends the 9 o'clock dismissal docket for the 95th Judicial District Court.